Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show, taking time out of your day. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course. So I've only like seen your name written, and so it the way I pronounce it is Adair. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay,
it.
what's that? That's an interesting name. Like, how did you, like, how did your parents come up with that? And I was about to say, how did you get that name? But that's a weird question.
It's actually funny. Everybody always thinks it's like some unique name, but my mom just actually found it in a baby book.
Uh,
And the only thing that my parents said was that they just didn't want their kids to have like generic names.
mhm.
So they named me Adair and my brother Nolan.
Okay. Yeah, Nolan's interesting too. Yeah, they were ahead of the curve because now like everybody is naming their kids like super unique names.
So true. It's a trend now.
So where do you train out of? Are you or I guess you live and train out of?
So I train out of Pure Muscle and Fitness in Burlington, Ontario. So
Okay.
outside of Toronto.
Okay, awesome. So and like how did you get into like I guess let's go ahead and talk about it. Like how did you get into fitness and training?
Yeah, so I mean I've always been really like active growing up and stuff. I did sports. I was a competitive dancer. I did triathlons, soccer, volleyball, anything my parents could put me in, I was in. And then I guess, kind of in high school, when I stopped competitive dancing, I found myself just,
Hmm.
feeling the need to be active and not really having that outlet anymore. So I joined a gym with my best friend and just kind of started, weight training a little bit, using the cardio machines just to try and stay fit, basically. And I kind of just like fell in love with weight training. Um, and then, I just did my own research. I like watched videos online. I followed people, that sort of stuff. Learned all that I kind of know now from doing my own research and just really like loved the lifestyle. So I actually did that for like probably about 5 or 6 years before I ever got into competing. It had always been a dream of mine to compete, but I never really thought I would actually be able to do it because I was told that it was so difficult and that like I would never be able to do it because you have to diet for like so many months on end. And it just like it sounded like the hardest thing in the world. And then yeah, one day I decided to go for it and just try it. And I mean, I fell in love with it and never really looked back.
So so you lived the lifestyle for about like 5 to 6 years? Is that basically like how?
Yeah, like I would wake up, do fasted cardio, go back in the afternoon, do my weight training, just like an actual, competitor like
Yeah.
we all do. But I never competed and I would like eat my 6 meals a day, my chicken, like everything like that. I just never stepped on stage.
Yeah, that's actually like super interesting because I find that myself included, I find a lot of people do that. Like some people don't have really like aspirations to be on stage, at least not yet, or whatever the case may be, but they just love like that regimented workout schedule, eating schedule, like you feel accomplished, you feel like you're involved in something. Especially for you, being a athlete in the past, it's like you're kind of looking for that same feel in your life, and that's something that like a lot of people kind of go through, I feel like.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's also just, always having a goal too. Like
Hmm.
fitness is one of those things where no matter how far you get in the sport, in the lifestyle, like there's always something you can work on to be better and just like that feeling of accomplishment and, routine. I find a lot of people really just thrive off of that.
Yeah, I was listening to and you might have heard it, it's pretty popular, but there's like a montage of Arnold talking, and one of the things that he mentions in it is he feels like people should set goals, even if it's not necessarily like competitive bodybuilding or like athletic in competition goals. Like set a goal like I want to look this way for the summer, or I have a vacation coming up, like I want to look this way, or I have a wedding or whatever the case may be. Just set a goal and then start working towards that goal. It's good for the mind, and besides the body. So
Yeah, 100%. I think like there's so much more to fitness than just, the physical aspect of it. It's about the mindset, the mental well-being, that too. So, having that goal, accomplishing that goal just does so much more for your mind and your well-being than necessarily even just looking good, right?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. And so, I mean, you're an IFBB pro, so you've obviously reached a very elite status and level in fitness. And after 6 years of just kind of like living the lifestyle, you decide to step on stage. Did you do it by yourself, or did you get a coach to kind of like lead you into it?
Yeah, so I actually started by hiring my coach as like a lifestyle client because I kind of just reached the point where I was like doing it on my own and researched a bunch of stuff, but I was one of those girls that, tended to do a bit too much cardio, not eat enough food, and I just kind of felt stuck. So I finally said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna hire a coach just to kind of help me get out of this almost like rut plateau that I'm in. So I hired my first coach, James from Team Atlas, and I started as a lifestyle client with him. And then, after a few months of being like really regiment and, seeing the progress that I had, he was like, you have great potential to compete. You could go pro. Like, your shape is amazing. You have great, like, amazing potential in this sport. Like, you should really compete. And like I said, I always thought it was so hard and I'd never be able to do it. So I was kind of like, ooh, I don't think I could, sort of thing. And then after, a little bit of back and forth talking, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So then, yeah, he coached me for my first show, which was last year, actually,
Mhm.
in September. So that was September 2021. Um, and then that show was on like a Friday evening, and it was a regional show which I won like my class and everything like that, which qualified me for, there was a national show the next day. So then on the Saturday I went and competed in the national show and I won my pro card.
That's, I mean, that's pretty amazing. Like, not a lot of people have that kind of story where where you compete in your first show, and then like literally the next day you have your national show and you win that. I mean, in most cases, it takes people years to, reach that pro card. Every few little bit, you'll have people like you, but that's not common. Were you surprised that you went pro like just right off the bat like that?
I mean, yes and no. Like, it leading into the show, there was a lot of talk about me turning pro,
Hmm.
and my potential to turn pro. So I knew it was a possibility, but it was one of those things where it just like I looked up to all like the IFBB pros, like Jennifer Dory, Laura Lee. And it's like for me to think that I could ever be one of them was just so far-fetched because I didn't even think I could complete a prep, never mind like turn pro. So
Hmm.
going into the show, like I knew I had a really good chance because of just like my shape and the talk about it. But it didn't really seem real until I was like actually on stage, when you're doing the comparisons and I was holding center collet and I just like remember this moment. I think we were in our back pose and I was looking at the like banner that said Canadian Nationals and I was in the center and I was like, holy crap, like it's actually happening right now. Like this is it. I think it's about to happen. And it was such a surreal moment just because, like I said, I never thought I could even do a prep. So to like accomplish that goal was just like such an amazing feeling. And then to accomplish turning pro in like also just so surreal.
Yeah. Did you cry?
I teared a little bit when they called my name, but I was like, no, 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 can't like cry for the pictures. So I held myself together.
There's like a common pose that a lot of girls into like all the divisions really is the one where they cover the face and then they're crying and then somebody's bringing them something like
Yeah.
flowers or something.
Yeah, I think I was doing that backstage. It was different for that show. They didn't have us on stage when they were doing the awards. We were actually
Oh, I
backstage.
see.
So I
Okay.
think I was actually like backstage, like holding my hands like this, like that. And then they called my name and I went out. But
Why did they do it? Oh, so they like announced you, like you realized you were backstage, but when the announcement came for who won, you came out on the stage, right? Correct?
um no, they just did. So we were all backstage and
Hmm.
then they announced like the winner of the pro card.
Uh-huh.
And I just went on stage.
Got it. Got it. So you were in front of the crowd, so to speak, like at the when you got the
No, I
like. Oh,
wasn't.
you weren't. Okay. Okay.
No, no, I was
Okay.
backstage.
Oh,
Yeah.
that kind of takes it away a little
Yeah,
bit.
it was a little bit of a different show. I mean, it was still kind of COVID time, so the show
True.
was running a
Okay.
little bit differently at that point, so that could have been why, but
hmm
yeah.
I forget, like it's so funny because now like things are pretty open, even though COVID is still kind of in the air, so to speak, no pun intended. It's
Mhm.
you know, there was a time not that long ago where like shows were almost non-existent. People were prepping for shows and they didn't know if the show would even happen. I've interviewed people where they put so much work into their prep and then the day of or the week of, it's like the show is not happening. So all that prep, all that time is just goes down the drain. So I'm glad.
Yeah, there
I'm
was
glad.
actually a couple times during my prep where the gyms were closed.
hmm
So I was training in like my friend's garage gyms or outside or like anywhere that I could find weights because I didn't have anything at home. Um,
hmm
so that was definitely interesting for a first prep.
So how did the first, yeah, I'm sure. How did the first prep go? Like was it as excuse me, was it as difficult as you imagined it to be?
It was honestly amazing. Like it really was not as hard as like I was told it was going to be. I think I had so much time too, especially my show was originally supposed to be in July, I think it was, and it got postponed because of COVID.
hmm
So I did have an extended prep. So I was prepping from about January all the way till September, but that really like allowed us to increase my food, decrease my cardio. I was able to do it like very, very slowly where I wasn't on anything really extreme. So I think that really helped as well. And you know, like I am one of those people that thrives off of routine and structure. So just having that routine and structure of every single day, eating my meals, doing my cardio, training, like I actually like did really, really well on under those circumstances. So
hmm
it was a lot easier than I ever thought it would be. Don't get me hard, there was definitely still like hard times, hard moments
hmm
like there is with every prep, but it wasn't like it was made out to be for me.
Was your so you mentioned increasing food, decreasing cardio. Was your goal to put on size or well, like what was the plan, so to speak, going into the
Yeah, so like I mean, I think I was basically ready for stage around June or July. So we did have a couple of months where I kind of was able to grow into the show. So that was kind of, you know, the goal was just keep training heavy and if you can grow into the show then like that's awesome. But yeah.
Mhm. Was bikini like your initial thought that that's the division that you're gonna go to and nothing else, or did you have like aspirations for any other division?
No, bikini's always kind of just been like my love, I would say. I just can't really picture myself in any other division.
Mhm,
Um, I mean, I have so much admiration for all the other divisions, like wellness and figure and all that, you know, the girls work amazingly hard. And I think to build that sort of foundation of muscle shows a lot and is super admirable. But like for me personally, I just don't think I would ever enjoy the look of that sort of physique on
mhm.
myself.
Got
And
it,
I think
got it.
that's a big part of it. You really have to enjoy the way you look, not only on stage, but off stage too, right?
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? And I have this conversation with some competitors, off camera and on camera that you know the judges give you feedback, right? Like what they want to see, right? More size, you know, whatever, more shredded. Um, how much of that you actually utilize because they might want to see more size on you, but you have to live in that body. So, you know, it's not it's unlike any other sport, right? Like it's not like putting a basketball into a hoop. You know, once they're done with that, they go home, nothing changes for them. But for a bodybuilder in any division, whatever you do to your body essentially is like what you use, you know, outside of the sport too. Like it's you.
Mhm.
So it's you know, it's interesting how people view it. You know, some people are like I'm like you said, you know, this is how I imagine myself looking and this is how I want to look, and others are more like, I'll just do whatever the judges tell me to do, and I'll make those adjustments. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on like your goals in the sport, right? Like if you're just competing kind of to challenge yourself, to have fun, but you don't necessarily care about making it to the Olympia or being the next like Miss Olympia, then by all means, like, you have to love your body. So maybe you won't listen to the judges' feedback or it's not as important to you. But I do think that like if you are trying to get to the Olympia, you are trying to be the best in the sport, that the judges are the ones that are going to get you there, right? So their feedback is the most important, and what they say kind of goes, which is why I think choosing a category that you like the overall look of is what's best in the end. Because if you're in a category where you don't like the look and then you have to listen to the judges, then you're kind of going to be in a battle with yourself of what to do. But as long as you like the look of the category, then listening to the judges' feedback usually isn't like anything hard to do,
Mhm.
because that's
I,
where you want to go anyways.
yeah, I get your point. That actually is a very good point. It's like, as long as the overall all look is like pleasing to you, then the little incremental changes in between that is not going to be like a huge deal. So yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from for sure. So with you like turning pro so fast, like you said, there was a buzz before you turn pro that it probably will happen. I imagine you have aspirations of being on like on the Olympia stage and placing very well there. Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely like, my dream is to be on the Olympia stage. I was aiming for it this year, but unfortunately I kind of had to cut my season short. So it's my goal for 2023, definitely to be on that Olympia stage. I came like close in my first season. I mean, I did 5 pro shows since I turned pro.
Mhm.
I did the Ben Weeders where I placed second, and then I placed third at Ben Weeders, my pro debut. Then I did Toronto Pro, I placed second there. I did Sacramento where I placed fifth, and then that's when things kind of went a little bit south, and I ended up getting second call-outs in my last 2 shows.
Mhm.
But I mean, I gained a lot of points for the Olympia, so I'm on the score, like the qualification point system right now, which is super cool to see my name on there. So it was a goal for this year that I wanted to get there, but
Mhm.
unfortunately it didn't happen. So next year for sure, I that is my biggest main goal.
Understood. So it's becoming in second, that's kind of like such a heartbreaker too, because it's almost, I wouldn't say it is, but it almost is like you feel better if you came in fourth or fifth or third, and you're like, well, I didn't even have a chance to be first. But when you come in second, it's like you're right there. I mean, it's like a matter
Yeah,
of a couple of points, it
it
made
was,
made the
yeah,
difference.
definitely like lit a fire under me. And I mean, it was my teammate that ended up winning that show. So
Okay,
I was
well,
happy for her. And if
understood.
anybody had to beat me, I was happy it was her. But yeah, I mean, it was like right there at the tip of my like
Mhm.
tongue, just in my grasp. So it really just like lit a fire on me to like work harder and
Mhm.
to get that first eventually.
Yeah. You said things went south. You placed a little lower, not too much lower on the next couple of shows. Was there anything in particular that you think happened? I know it's a lot of there's a lot of variables. Like any division in bikini, there's a lot of variables. I know that when I've spoken to other girls in bikini, a lot comes down to like peak week and things like that. How you look. So any ideas on what happened there?
So basically I kind of just started having some like digestive issues,
Mhm.
things kind of surrounding my waist, or it was a lot thicker than it kind of used to be. And anything and everything bloated me. So like
Mhm.
even drinking water, any food bloated me. So that was like an issue that I was kind of dealing with. And then I mean, it's fine if I don't eat on show day, and I'm one of those girls that doesn't necessarily get to carb up a lot. But the issue is that I also have extremely lean legs, which they really don't like in bikini. So I get really, really lean in my legs to reach that level of conditioning that we need for stage. But we need to like fill me out so that you can't see the striations, you can't see how lean they are. But then the second we fill me out, my waist bloats. So it was like this balancing act that we were trying to figure out between bringing my waist in tight, but my legs too lean, or bringing my legs in full enough, but then my waist is bloated. So it kind of just came down to I was having those like digestive issues, and we figured that's why we called it quits on the season, just because as
Yeah.
long as I had those issues, we weren't going to be able to achieve the look that we wanted. And especially in bikini, if you're over conditioned right now, the judges are really, really docking you because they
Mhm.
don't want to promote that sort of like extreme conditioning within the sport. So it's kind of funny, like if you come in not lean enough, you'll probably place higher than if you come in way too lean.
Yeah, yeah, that is I wouldn't I wouldn't call it strange, but it's just like you kind of have to wrap your mind around that a little bit as a competitor. It's because your inclination as a fitness individual, as an athlete, is to be better. And in your mind, you're like, well, better is leaner, better is more muscle leaner, but that's not the criteria of the division. So you have to kind of understand that and kind of work with that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird, yeah. No, I get it, and the digestive issues are the worst, and it's
Yeah.
because, like, so sometimes, and I have some of those as well, personally, um, that I'll have, like, something I'll eat something, and and it'll bloat me up, and I will look totally different. Like my whole physique would look different. Where, a few hours before I look really good, lean. After that, I look like a totally different individual. Like I don't even train, and it's like, it just
Yeah.
looks so bad. And it's just amazing what just like food not being digested properly, it like does to a person. And it's an amazing like reaction. But of course for you, it's such a big problem because you just said, I mean, your legs get lean, you have to fill out. It's like, what do you do? Yeah, that balance. Like, have you tackled I know you said you cut the season short because of that. Have you thought about that more? Have there been more, like, have you guys, like, came up with, like, another plan on how you're gonna tackle that, or you're just
Yeah,
how it
so I've
goes?
been basically working on it since my last show in June. Kind of tried to do it, the more holistic approach with just changing diet, elimination diet, low food map, that sort of stuff. Kind of just trying to figure it out that way and heal the gut in that sense, which did help a little bit. It has gotten a little bit better, but hasn't completely fixed the problem. So we're kind of now switching gears to do a more in-depth kind of analysis of it where
Mhm.
we do testing, like really, really just pinpoint and figure it out so that we can figure out exactly how to fix it. So it's still an ongoing process at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure you've already looked into this, but something that helps me majority of the time, I'm not gonna say it helps all the time, but majority of the time, if I take like a good fiber supplement before bed, that usually will like help my digestive tract. But again, that's, digestion is such a person specific thing. It's hard for me to give like, advice, and be like, oh, this is completely gonna work for you. It's just
Yeah,
one of
that's the
those
thing
things.
with the gut too, is there's just so many different aspects and it's really hard because you can't see anything, right? It's not like if you have an injury and it's like, oh, my shoulder hurts. It's like there's so many different areas within your gut and your digestive system that it's really hard to pinpoint.
Mhm.
So I mean, I have tried, some fiber stuff. I do glutamine, stuff like that. Digestive enzymes, probiotics,
Yeah.
all of that. But I think there may be something a little bit more like we're not sure if it's like leaky gut, maybe some
Mhm.
SIBO going on. So yeah, we're gonna do some tests and kind of
Yeah.
see if we can pinpoint it a little bit more precisely.
Yeah, well, I wish you well on that. I know the struggle, so
Yeah.
that's tough. So did you ever I was curious, I wanted to ask you this earlier when we were discussing it, but when you come into on stage for the first time, were you like a shy person? What some people tell me, and this is men and women, actually probably more so than men with men, because your females wear on stage is similar to like what a bikini would be. Men's is a little different on what like the average man would wear normally. But were you shy on stage or anything like that, or did that not bother you?
So yes and no. Like I'm actually quite a shy person in general. Like I'm very to myself until I like get comfortable around people, then I'm very outgoing, but I tend to be kind of a shy person in general. So I have that side of me, but I also being like a competitive dancer, I used to being on stage in front of people. So I mean like the crowd and being on stage didn't necessarily like freak me out or scare me or anything like that. But I definitely did have a hard time, really coming out of my shell posing wise. So that
Mhm.
was a lot of what I worked on, especially in my like first year, like competing as a pro, since our routines are so much longer, was really just trying to come out of my shell and be more like have more personality and a little bit more like excitement in my posing while I'm on stage. So, I mean, I was a little bit shy, but I would say probably better than like your average first time competitor
Sure.
since I was used to being on stage with dancing.
Right, that's a benefit for sure. Um, so I was gonna ask you something now I completely lost my track of thought. But so what are your plans now, as far as like we know you're tackling like the gut issue situation. Is there anything else that you're working on in this off season to come back better the next year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like I said earlier, there's always something you can be working on, which is why I love this sport. But my feedback from the judges, besides like my legs being too lean, was that I could grow my upper body still a little bit. And specifically, like I need some biceps, apparently. My arms are very, very small. So I am working on growing my upper body during the off season. And then also just like working on my posing too,
Mhm.
um, and just bringing that next level posing where it's like flawless and just looks completely natural and
Right.
all of that.
Are you hiring somebody for posing, or are you just doing it on your own?
Yeah, so I do have a posing coach. I work with
Mm.
Angeline Jensen, and so we work together usually like once a month in the off season sort of thing, and then I
Mhm.
just do my own sort of practice um, in between our sessions.
Mhm. Got it. Yeah, posing is such a big thing right now. I mean, there was a time where like there wasn't a lot of posing coaches. Now there's a lot of posing coaches, and I think it's because people are realizing that posing like makes or breaks you on stage. You can have a great physique, but if you can't show it, the right way, you're not going to do well. So,
Oh yeah, I think especially in bikini, it's like such a huge factor where, even just feeling confident in your posing can make you go from second callouts to like first place sort of thing.
mhm.
Like the confidence just shines through and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really, I would say, one of the biggest things, especially in bikini, that you need to work on.
Yeah, it's whoever, like whoever poses the best, that's who like the judges see and remember. Even myself, like I'm no judge and I wouldn't even, wouldn't want that job because that's such a difficult job. But when I see, the Olympia and so forth, like the ones that catch my eye are, whether it's men or women, it's is the ones that pose well. Honestly, the physiques are so good at that level that the separation really comes from how they present themselves, so
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you can also like hide so many of your weaknesses with posing and show off like, your strengths as well. So it really is an art and, just highlighting all your best features.
yeah, absolutely. Um, do you like, the way bikini is going at this point? Like the direction, like who they're rewarding in the shows and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy like the look and where they're kind of taking it. I do as much as it kind of sucks for me since I do get really lean legs. I do like that they are like taking that like strict line of you can't be too conditioned,
Mhm.
and drawing the line there. And just also I think they're going more towards like a more achievable sort of look, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Whereas I know for a couple of years there, like when Issa was winning, the freaky waist and the huge lats, it's like a lot of girls, that's not necessarily like an achievable body unless you are that genetic freak that has those proportions. So I really do enjoy that, they're going more towards a more attainable sort of look.
Mhm. Yeah, when Issa was winning, yeah, that was like when everybody is like, "Whoa!" Like,
Yeah.
bikini is changing. Like things are different in bikini now, and then they kind of like redirect it again. But that's the thing about bikini; it's so tough. It's like on one hand, so it's kind of like a two sides to the coin. It's like on one hand, everyone has a good opportunity to do well because the judges seem to um reward different people at different years. But at the same time, it's also difficult because if you're the champ, it's gonna take a lot for you to win another one and another one. Like I think Kaltwasser, I forgot her first name. What is
Ashley.
Ashley? Yes, she has the record, right? Like for the three, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so,
Yeah.
and if you think about it, three Olympias, that's, I mean, relatively with other divisions, that's not a lot. That's a lot of change, in the bikini that happens. So
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's not really like a lot of the other divisions where, like with bodybuilding, you have them winning for like 7, 8 years in a row, right? It's like when you win one year, it's the chances of you winning again the next year are very difficult. But I
right.
guess that it keeps it fun,
Yeah,
It keeps
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree. Like, even though the men's open has this year has an incredible lineup, most people will say that Ramy is going to win. There's not going to be anybody that dethrones it. So it's kind of like a moot point. You're really looking at 2 through 10 at this point that you're like kind of thinking who's going to win, who's going to place there. But with bikini, it's like you don't know. It's like it's up for grabs really every year. So
it's anybody's game. And I mean, there's a lot of girls that like show up out of the blue too and just surprise and shock the world and,
yeah,
place first or second that you don't even know of or haven't even heard of before, right? Which
right.
I think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anybody, and I don't know how much you follow the like other people, but do you have anybody that you kind of are rooting for this year?
Oh, I mean, I'm kind of rooting for everybody.
Hmm.
I do, I actually, Jen Dory used to be my coach when I did sign up for
Oh,
lifestyle
okay.
with James. She was doing the lifestyle coaching at that point. So
Okay.
I love Jen and I would love to see her win again. I think she's like a great person, a great ambassador for the sport too.
Nice.
Um, but I mean, I also think Laura Lee is great and
Mhm.
she's been doing really well. So I think she has, the potential to do it as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, Ashley's on a roll this year
Right.
too. She's like 30 something wins or something, I think, at
Yeah,
this.
she competes
So,
like in every show in the season.
yeah.
It feels like.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So, I mean, I think, like I said, it's going to be probably one of the best like Olympias ever this year, especially with like, I think Janet's coming back and,
mhm.
just all the competition that's going to be at the Olympia. It's going to be a really difficult one.
Yeah, this is turning out to be a great Olympia for pretty much all the divisions. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably, I mean, there's some great Olympias in the past, but it seems like they were only like for one division, like men's open or this division or that division. But it's like this one is like stacked like all the way through. It's going to be really exciting. Are you planning to go in person or watch it on TV?
I haven't decided yet. I really would love to go in person and just, experience the atmosphere since I haven't been to an Olympia before. And
Hmm.
I think too, it would really like light that fire under me to make sure that I do achieve my goal in getting there next year. But we'll see,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you thought about training or coaching yourself, or do you already do that?
Um, I mean, it's crossed my mind before, everybody's like, oh, I wonder if I could coach myself, but I really don't think I could. I just like, I would second guess myself way too much. And I think just like I do my own training. So even with that too, like I find myself like, oh, am I doing the right things? Am I like I'm
Yeah.
always questioning it. So I just like having somebody that I can trust, tell me what to do, and that's that.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like so just in regular like everyday life, I wake up, I look in the mirror, and one day I love the way I look, and the next day I'm like, what am I doing? Like I look terrible. And so I could see if I'm prepping for myself for a show, like that would be a real problem. You kind of need somebody that's like the third person, like kind of just third eye, I guess you could say, is just looking at you from a different angle that's not connected to you. It's like they can objectively look at you and decide whether you actually need to worry about anything or not. So
Yeah, exactly. And like we all get those prep goggles too, where we're like, I'm not lean enough. I don't look good enough. And it's like, then when you're not lean and you're not in that stage, you look back and you're like, I'm crazy. I was so lean, or like I looked amazing. So I definitely think I would not be able to call the shots, especially getting close to the show.
yeah, for sure. No, I get it. All that lack of food and everything will play
Yeah,
tricks on your mind.
not thinking straight.
Right. Well, Adair, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule. I greatly appreciate it. If somebody wanted to contact you for like more podcasts or anything else, pick your brain a little bit about the business, what would be the best way to do it?
So yeah, probably just my Instagram. It's just my name at Adair Libbrecht. So I love, connecting with people on there, chatting there. And most of my, links and everything you can find there in my bio too. So
Awesome. And guys, I'm going to link everything down at the bottom to make it easier for you. And thank you for watching this episode. Thanks,
thanks for
Adair. Take
having
care.
me.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.